Welcome, fellow seekers of ancient mysteries. Today, we embark on a journey through the enigmatic realms of Mesopotamian mythology, exploring the fascinating tapestry woven by the Anunnaki. These ancient deities, revered by civilizations like the Sumerians, Akkadians, Assyrians, and Babylonians, have left an indelible mark on the pages of history. From the celestial union of An and Ki, to the complex relationships between Enlil, Enki, Ninhursag, and others, the Anunnaki's presence resonates in the myths and legends of the ancient world. Join us as we navigate the cosmic landscapes where gods determine destinies, temples house divine statues, and deities participated in the divine assembly. We'll unravel the threads of Sumerian poetry, delve into the underworld judgments in Inanna's descent, and witness the cosmic rollers assigned to celestial bodies. From the earliest mentions in Gudea's reign to the Neo-Assyrian conflicts, the Anunnaki's journey is one of complexity and intrigue. But that's not all. As we delve deeper, we'll explore the controversial theories that have emerged over the years. Did extraterrestrial ancient astronauts influence human civilizations, as proposed by Erich von Däniken? Or, as Zecharia Sitchin suggests, were the Anunnaki advanced beings from Nibiru shaping the course of humanity? Hold tight as we unravel the mysteries, debunk myths, and uncover the historical context behind these captivating tales. Join me on this expedition into the heart of Mesopotamia's divine pantheon. The Anunnaki chronicles await. The Anunnaki, sometimes transcribed as Anunnaki, Anunnaki, Anunna, Anunnaki, and in various other forms, constitute a collective of ancient deities revered by the Sumerians, Akkadians, Assyrians, and Babylonians. Described in the earliest Sumerian texts dating from the post-Akkadian era, the Anunnaki hold a significant place within the pantheon. As descendants of An and Ki, the divine entities representing the heavens and earth respectively, their primary role centered on determining the destinies of humanity, it is crucial to distinguish them from the Apkallu. The term Anunnaki finds its roots in An, the Sumerian deity associated with the sky. The name is recorded in various forms such as Danuna, Danuna Keochne, or Danunna, signifying princely offspring, or offspring of An. According to belief, the Anunnaki were considered the progeny of An and his partner, the earth goddess Kai. Samuel Noah Kramer suggests that Ki can be identified with the Sumerian mother goddess Ninhursag, proposing their original equivalents. Among the Anunnaki, Enlil, the god of air, held the eldest position and served as the chief deity in the Sumerian pantheon. The Sumerians held the conviction that prior to Enlil's birth, heaven and earth existed as a unified entity. Enlil's emergence marked the division of heaven and earth, with Enlil separating the two realms by taking control of the earth, while his father, An, assumed dominion over the sky. The Anunnaki are predominantly referenced in literary texts, with limited archaeological evidence supporting the existence of a dedicated cult for them. This scarcity may arise from the fact that each Anunnaki member had an individual cult, distinct from the others. Notably, comprehensive depictions of the entire Anunnaki group remain elusive, though a few portrayals featuring 2 or 3 individual members in conjunction have been identified. In ancient Mesopotamia, deities were primarily anthropomorphic, believed to possess extraordinary powers, and often depicted with imposing physical stature. Adorned in melam, an enigmatic substance exuding awe-inspiring splendor, deities induced a physical tingling sensation known as nigh in those who beheld them. Horned caps, typically consisting of up to 7 superimposed pairs of ox horns, were a common feature in their depictions. Additionally, deities were occasionally presented wearing garments embellished with elaborate gold and silver ornaments. According to Mesopotamian belief, deities resided in heaven, having initially visited earth in mythological texts. A god statue was considered a tangible embodiment of the deity, and cult statues received meticulous care from assigned priests. These priests attended to the statues, clothing them and offering feasts as if the statues could eat. The temple dedicated to a deity was regarded as the literal abode of that deity. Gods possessed boats, stored within their temples, used to transport cult statues along waterways during religious festivals. Chariots were employed for land transportation, and at times a deity's cult statue would be taken to a battlefield for the deity to witness unfolding events. The major deities, including the Anunnaki, participated in the assembly of the gods, akin to a divine counterpart to the semi-democratic legislative system during the Third Dynasty of Ur, c. 2112 BC, EC, 2004 BC. The earliest documented uses of the term Anunnaki can be traced back to inscriptions from the reign of Gudea, c. 2144–124 BC, and the Third Dynasty of Ur. In these initial texts, the term is ascribed to the preeminent deities within the Sumerian pantheon, specifically the progeny of the sky god An. This distinguished group likely comprised the 7 gods who decree: An, Enlil, Enki, Ninhursag, Nanna, Utu, and Inanna. While certain deities are identified as Anunnaki members, a comprehensive roster of their names has not been preserved. Typically, references to the Anunnaki as a unified group primarily appear in literary texts. Moreover, Sumerian accounts depict the Anunnaki in inconsistent manners, offering no consensus on their numerical count or divine roles. Initially, the Anunnaki seem to have held celestial status with formidable abilities. The poem Enki and the World Order portrays the Anunnaki paying homage to Enki, singing hymns in his honor, and choosing to dwell among the people of Sumer. This composition explicitly notes the Anunnaki's involvement in determining the destinies of humanity, emphasizing their authority in decreeing the fates of mankind. Nearly every prominent deity within the Sumerian pantheon held the role of patron for a specific city, entrusted with safeguarding the city's interests. The belief held that these deities permanently resided in the temples dedicated to their respective cities. In the city of Eridu alone, records mention up to 50 Anunnaki associated with its divine sphere. The epic story, Inanna's descent into the netherworld, portrays a different aspect of the Anunnaki, where only 7 of them serve as judges within the underworld. In this narrative, Inanna faces trial before these 7 Anunnaki for her audacious attempt to seize control of the underworld. The judges find her guilty of hubris, condemning her to death. Sumerian mythology also attributed major deities to specific celestial bodies. Inanna, for instance, was linked to the planet Venus, while Utu represented the sun and Nanna symbolized the moon. An was associated with all the stars in the equatorial sky, Enlil with those of the northern sky, and Enki with those in the southern sky. Enlil's celestial orbit followed a continuous, symmetrical circle around the north celestial pole, while the paths of An and Enki were believed to intersect at various points. In the 2nd millennium BC, Akkadian texts align with the portrayal of the Anunnaki as chthonic underworld deities, reminiscent of their depiction in Inanna's descent into the netherworld. An abbreviated Akkadian version of this epic, dating from the early 2nd millennium, features Ereshkigal, the queen of the underworld, noting that she drinks water with the Anunnaki. Subsequently, in the same narrative, Ereshkigal instructs her servant Namtar to bring the Anunnaki from Igalgina, adorn the threshold steps with coral, and seat them on golden thrones. During the Old Babylonian period, c. 1830 BC, c. 1531 BC, a new pantheon called the Igigi emerges. The relationship between the Anunnaki and the Igigi remains ambiguous, with occasional use of the terms interchangeably. However, in certain writings, like the poem of Era, a clear distinction between the two is evident. In the late Akkadian Atrahasis epic, the Igigi, considered the 6th generation of gods, revolt after being compelled to toil for the Anunnaki. After 40 days, Enki, one of the Anunnaki, creates humans to replace the rebellious Igigi. From the Middle Babylonian period onward, the term Anunnaki is broadly applied to underworld deities, while Igigi denotes heavenly deities. In this era, underworld deities such as Damkina, Nergal, and Madanu are identified as the most potent among the Anunnaki, alongside Marduk, the national god of ancient Babylon. In the conventional Akkadian epic of Gilgamesh, 1200 BC Utnapishtim, the immortal survivor of the Great Flood, characterizes the Anunnaki as 7 judges of the underworld. According to Utnapishtim, these deities ignite the land as the storm approaches, symbolizing their pivotal role in the impending catastrophe. Subsequently, during the flood, Ishtar, the East Semitic equivalent of Inanna, and the Anunnaki express mourning over the devastation wrought upon humanity. In the Babylonian Enuma Elish, Marduk is credited with assigning roles to the Anunnaki. A later Babylonian version of this epic introduces a cosmology with 600 Anunnaki associated with the underworld and 300 with heaven, suggesting a nuanced understanding of the underworld's intricate structure. Expressing gratitude, the Anunnaki, referred to as the Great Gods, collaborate to construct Esagila, an opulent temple dedicated to Marduk, Ea, and Enlil. In the 8th century BC poem of Era, the Anunnaki are characterized as the siblings of the god Nergal and are portrayed as antagonistic towards humanity. This narrative sheds light on the complex and often conflicted relationships between these deities and the mortal realm. A severely damaged Neo-Assyrian Period text, 911-62 BC, recounts Marduk's march with his Anunnaki army into the revered city of Nippur, resulting in turmoil. This disturbance triggers a flood, compelling the resident gods of Nippur to seek refuge in the Ashumesha temple dedicated to Ninurta. Enlil, angered by Marduk's actions, commands the gods of Ashumesha to apprehend Marduk and the other Anunnaki. Although the Anunnaki are initially captured, Marduk appoints Mustashir-Hablim as their leader, initiating a rebellion against the gods of Ashumesha. He dispatches Neritagmil as a messenger to alert Nabu, the god of literacy. Upon hearing Nabu speak, the Ashumesha gods venture out of their temple in search of him. Marduk emerges victorious in the ensuing conflict, capturing 360 Ashumesha gods, including Enlil himself. In response to Enlil's protestations of innocence, Marduk subjects the Ashumesha gods to trial before the Anunnaki. The text concludes with Damkiana, an alternative name for Ninhursag, issuing a warning to both the gods and humanity, urging them to refrain from repeating the conflict between the Anunnaki and the gods of Ashumesha. In the mythologies of the Hurrians and Hittites, thriving in the mid to late 2nd millennium BC, the eldest generation of gods was believed to have been expelled to the underworld by the younger gods, where they came under the rule of the goddess Lelwani. Hittite scribes identified these deities with the Anunnaki. In ancient Hurrian, the Anunnaki are denoted as Karuilesh Shiunesh, meaning former ancient gods, or Kataresh Shiunesh, meaning gods of the earth. Hittite and Hurrian, treaties were often solemnized by invoking the old gods to ensure the fidelity of oaths. In a myth involving the threat posed by the stone giant Ullikummi, Ea, later known as Enki, commands the former gods to retrieve the weapon that separated the heavens from the earth, ultimately using it to sever Ullikummi's feet. Although the Anunnaki's names in Hurrian and Hittite texts often vary, their number remains constant at 8. In a specific Hittite ritual, the names of the old gods are listed as Aduntari the diviner, Zulki the dream interpretess, Irpitia lord of the earth, Nara, Namshara, Minki, Amunki, and Api. These old gods lacked an identifiable cult in Hurrio-Hittite religion, and communication with them was sought through the ritual sacrifice of a piglet in a ground-dug pit. The old gods were frequently invoked for ritual purifications. The Hittite account of the old gods' banishment to the underworld parallels the narrative in Hesiod's Theogony, describing the overthrow of the Titans by the Olympians. Uranos, the Greek sky god and father of the Titans, shares similarities with the Hittite Anu. In both accounts, the primordial god is castrated by his offspring, with Uranos suffering at the hands of Cronus in Greek mythology and Anu facing castration by his son, Kumarbi, in the Hittite narrative. In a series of published books, commencing with Chariots of the Gods, in 1968, pseudo-archaeologist Erich von Däniken asserts the theory that extraterrestrial ancient astronauts visited a prehistoric Earth. Von Däniken proposes that religions originated as responses to encounters with an alien race, offering interpretations of Sumerian texts and the Old Testament to substantiate his claims. In a separate narrative presented in his 1976 work, The 12th Planet, author Zecharia Sitchin asserts that the Anunnaki were an advanced humanoid extraterrestrial species hailing from the yet undiscovered planet Nibiru. According to Sitchin, around 500,000 years ago, the Anunnaki arrived on Earth and established a base for gold mining, drawn to the planet's abundant gold deposits. Sitchin contends that the Anunnaki engaged in vitro fertilization to hybridize their species with Homo erectus, resulting in the creation of humans as a subservient labor force for mining activities. Sitchin further claims that the Anunnaki temporarily vacated Earth's surface and orbited the planet when melting Antarctic glaciers triggered the Great Flood, which also led to the destruction of their Earth-based facilities. Forced to rebuild, the Anunnaki, requiring additional human labor for this monumental task, purportedly imparted agricultural knowledge to humanity. According to Sitchin, as Ronald H. Fritz notes, the Anunnaki constructed the pyramids and other monumental structures around the ancient world, which proponents of ancient astronaut theory find challenging to explain without advanced technologies. Sitchin further elaborated on this mythos in subsequent works such as The Stairway to Heaven, 1980, and The Wars of Gods and Men, 1985. In his later work, The End of Days, Armageddon, and the Prophecy of the Return, 2007, Sitchin predicted the return of the Anunnaki to Earth, speculating on a possible occurrence around 2012, coinciding with the conclusion of the Mesoamerican long count calendar. Mainstream historians universally reject Sitchin's writings, categorizing them as pseudo-archaeology. Critics argue that Sitchin appears to intentionally misrepresent Sumerian texts by quoting them out of context, truncating quotations, and mistranslating Sumerian words to assign radically different meanings from their accepted definitions. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button to stay updated on all our future content. Your support means the world to us. If you have any questions, thoughts,